which is that I'm not an archaeologist. I'm just a humble architect trying to learn from the archaeologists. That implies as well that I don't necessarily use the right terminology or the right terms. Okay. I'm going to talk about the high Arctic, the archipelago of Svalbard. It's, as you can see, situated in the middle of the sea and up in the high north. When I moved to Svalbard in 2002, we were told, my family and me, that we didn't need to bring any kind of rain clothing because it never rained at Svalbard. Having lived there for 2 years, it started raining. And of course we needed to get raincoats. And now it's even raining during winter time sometimes. This means that something huge has been going on, even since 15 years ago, when I started my journey on Svalbard. Before I would like to tell you about the consequences from the climate change, I have to tell you a little bit about the cultural heritage at Svalbard. They are quite young. As Svalbard was discovered in 1596, when Wilhelm Barents and his companions were looking for the northeast passage to Asia. Until then, there has been no signs of any indigenous population. And since then, just a few years after Barents and his friends visited the islands, it started with some kind of international use. And the first ones to start exploiting was the whalers. Thus, the culture remains. It's regarded as international heritage. And because the cultural heritage are so young, I think I should just show you some distinct features about the heritage, and then go on onto the anticipated effects from the climate change. One of the most distinct features about the cultural heritage is that it's possible to divide them into historical periods. Some of those are overlapping, and some of them are still going on, like Norwegian wintering, research, mineral seeking, and of course tourism. I mentioned that they were very young, and due to the Svalbard Environmental Protection Act, all structures and artifacts related from before 1946 are automatically protected. This makes the cultural heritage extremely vulnerable to human use. The tourist does not necessarily understand that it is protected cultural heritage. And they might look like this. Most of the heritage are not in ordinary use anymore, except from some of the cabins that are used by the locals. Not this one, of course, but they are used in kind of leisure. And most of the cultural heritage are containing wood. Some of them are made from wood completely, and some of them are containing wood, which makes them vulnerable to biological decay. Most of them are situated on the shoreline, which also makes them extremely vulnerable to coastal erosion. They are, even if they are not in use, some of the sites are heavily used by the tourism, and some of the sites are just left alone. But they are managed kind of in situ. They are very seldom they are digged out, and they are supposed to be like they are and sort of go back to nature in their own time. And most of them are not even maintained or restored. They're just lying there. Climate change, anticipated effects. A lot of these effects are, of course, not new. What is new is that they are speeding up. Except from rainfall, perhaps, those have been going on for a long time. And also except from that there is no sea ice anymore in the fjords. All of the other effects have been there for a long time. At Svalbard, biological decay and coastal erosion is seen as the most important features. But anyway, all those effects are working together. In the 1980s, there were done excavations in the northwest part of Spitsbergen, which is the main or the largest island at Svalbard, and a lot of clothings were found. As you can see, there are quite the clothings are still on the corpse or the skeletons, and it's in quite a good shape. And everybody thought that nothing was happening at Svalbard. Everybody supposed that the permafrost was kind of conservating everything, and there was no trouble from climate change or climate or weather at all. And then in 2016 and again this year, excavations were done in the same area, and there were hardly any clothings left. So in these few years, 25 years, everything was gone. Coastal erosion, it's a huge problem. Due to the fact that there is hardly any sea in the fjords anymore during winter time, waves are attacking the shores, and as most of the cultural heritage is situated on the shore, it's a large problem. The Trappist station on the left was moved 2 years ago, 1 year ago, to another place because it was not possible to do anything with the shoreline. The Norwegian coal mining city Hjorthamn is not done anything, and everything is just lying on the shore, like you can see here, still. You can see in the middle of the two researchers there are some planks, and they are from a coffin on his way out to the sea. And that's what's happening. It has been happening for a long time at Svalbard, but it's increasing rapidly. I said that biological decay was one of the main reasons one of the main reasons for the decay at Svalbard, and that's true when it comes to the standing structures. As most of them are wooden, they are really heavily collapsing. And last year's research has shown that there is a special species of fungus that have been specialized on these waters or on these regions. And the decay is going almost as heavy or as fast as in mainland Norway. If you can see on the left down there, this fungus is starting kind of working from inside the wood and working towards the outside, and is difficult to detect until its structure is falling down. Rust is a problem as well because quite a lot of metal in the sides. But this, most of these metal items are quite strong, and they may take this. It doesn't necessarily have to do something with authenticity. There's also a problem with the tourism. Some of the sites are heavily visited by the tourists, and even this is not a climate change problem. They are also working together with the climate changes, trampling down vegetation and letting the wind come through and exposing the coffins, for example. How are these effects met? At Svalbard, cultural heritage protection is quite integrated with nature protection. And there's a very clear goal from the governor of Svalbard that they are supposed to preserve a representative selection of the heritage for prosperity. However, they are mostly taken care of in situ, or actually they are not taken care of the sites, they're just lying there. And authenticity is an extremely important measure, or no, sorry, it's extremely important at Svalbard, authenticity. But this authenticity is not necessarily the site's authenticity. It's more like the authenticity of the decay that is showing. There have been quite a lot of emergency excavations, and in 2017, I would call it a research excavation that has been done this summer. This means that that's why I said that I wanted to learn from archaeologists, because the archaeologists at Svalbard, they are kind of working with research problems and trying to find out what is actually happening. But on the building or on the standing structures side, this is only happening quite rare. There have been done some restoration of buildings and constructions, but these are only a few, perhaps 10 or 15 sites, and they are done in a quite a strange way, because when I started to work at Svalbard, I was told that there was no fungal decay at Svalbard. So all the restorations that have been done there has been done without knowing that it was fungal decay. And I think that might come back to us in a few years. But this has to be restored once more, these sites or these buildings. Some buildings have been moved away from shoreline because of the coastal erosion, and there has been some mapping of areas with coastal erosion, but not very many. At Svalbard, the Norwegian government have a variety of goals that are sort of contradictions to each other. There are very heavily political goals, and there are economic activity goals concerning economic activity, like tourism, mining, industry, and research and education. And all these activities are to go together with preserving wilderness and cultural heritage. And when these are sort of happening together or happening at the same time, sometimes then it would be beach parties inside cultural remains, because the tourism doesn't know that there are cultural remains. But the tourism is a wanted activity. One of the greatest challenges at Svalbard is that we do not know enough about what is actually happening. And then it is, of course, difficult to do anything. If you don't know what's happening, you don't know what to do. Degradation seems to speed up. And as I said, we do not even know enough to meet the present situation. we need to know what is actually happening and how fast it's happening. We need to know more about the degradation parameters, what kind of degradation, and we need to know more about interaction between human and natural degradation. The governor of Svalbard wants to proceed knowledge-based management, but when they are lacking knowledge, of course, that's difficult. And they are extremely interested in upholding the authenticity of the sites as it is now. However, the money goes to nature research, and it's difficult to raise fundings for cultural heritage research. We are talking about extremely remote areas. It's no infrastructure. It's very expensive to do any kind of research activities. And we're missing environmental monitoring on the cultural heritage. On nature, there are lots of monitoring programs going on, but on cultural heritage there are none at the moment. There has been some research the recent years, but it has been focusing on tourism and human wear. As a researcher, I will of course say that more research is necessary, but better communication is also a very important feature, because it's difficult to get the governor to understand that this research is needed and more knowledge is needed. Okay, thank you.